wanted to ask you how important are genres. Obviously, they're good for marketing, but are they bad for artists?
Yeah, it's not something I've ever thought about, and I don't think anyone's ever said a genre that I, felt like we did particularly suit or want to be in. We've been a bit restless, I suppose. The first record was markedly different to the second, and I'd say these last few records are very different to those again. Personally, genres don't interest me very much. There's just a sort of categorization tool, isn't it, and helpful when you're in a record store or on Spotify or something, I suppose. But no, I don't find it that helpful, really, as a tool in general.
Yeah.
And in fact, often in record stores, the records are in the wrong place as well, it seems to me. You're often looking for something and you're like, why is that in the pop section or the blues section? Yeah. So
right.
I don't know.
Because this relates a little bit to a quote. Ben Andrews has tendency to make each album a rebellion against the last.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about, but I think you just spend so much time with these songs, over the period of writing them and then recording them and then touring them. By the time you're through that process, you are, even the songs you love, you're pretty tired of hanging out with them and you want to hang out with someone else. So I think there's that, but there's also something just written into this choice of occupation that is, you're always sort of trying to grasp at something that you can't touch, that eludes your grasp each time. It feels like that anyway. So on the surface of it, it's a rebellion, perhaps. Some of the kind of the superficial elements you're rebelling against, but I think every time you're grasping for the same thing, but perhaps in a different way.
Yeah, and you do get kind of wanting to explore things, and it's, if you're performing them as well as much as you guys have, you probably get a little bit tired of them because you've toured so extensively that you want to branch out and explore different sounds. And
it's really fun. A lot of our records have come out of different collaborations as well. It's just been like when we did this stuff with LP, his palette was so different to ours, and that was what was exciting, was just to sort of mash our two brains together. But you just those records like Total Depravity, where it was a larger sonic sort of departure from the one before, that was more born out of a collaboration that kind of called for that departure, rather than like I didn't think to do that on my own. It was really just through that collaboration that happened. And I think a lot of the records have been like that. The sort of the collaborations within them and around them have kind of led the way.
I wanted to take you back a little bit to Devonport and the lead up to The Runaway Found. So this was, you kind of wrote most of it around around the age of 16, and then you were signed to, Blanco y Negro of Rough Trade. And then that debut kind of took maybe, I think it was 2 years before it kind of properly got released. And then when you returned with Nux Vomica, it had quite a different sound, and it was written in a different place, and it was with a different lineup as well. Was the first debut, was it maybe like a solo project, and then the next one was more of a collaboration, like what you were saying?
Yeah, sort of. It was weird. That first record sort of turned up in London and needed to find a band. I hadn't really played shows at all in New Zealand. I didn't really know many musicians in New Zealand. I sort of went over, and the label kind of put a band around me, really. So
right.
somewhat manufactured. And it was there was a lot of like, should this be a solo thing or not? But I've never really wanted to be a solo artist, and I wanted a gang around me. I guess I felt quite isolated in London when I first moved over there, and I wanted a group of people, and but it didn't really work. And everyone was, they were lovely guys, and we had a good time, but there wasn't really a sort of a synergy outside of that. And yeah, that album took so long to get together, and Rough Trade were getting sued by Warner's, and we were faffing around, and so after the 3 years, I think it was.
Was it 3 years? Yeah,
something like that. It was a long time. It felt longer than that. By the time it came out, I think it was something ridiculous. Like a month after it came out, I threw it all up in the air and came back to New Zealand and wanted a proper band.
Right.
And I'd posted for a bass, and it was all kind of like, oh, I'll just find, get my best friends from back home, and we'll start from the beginning again and do it the way I should have done it the first time. That was kind of the impetus.
Yeah. And that may have flavoured your other releases being kind of perhaps maybe a rebellion from the last release, because there was such a long gestation period between the debut and the sophomore that already this wide range of styles beginning. And then when you came time to do, your third album, it was apparently quite quickly made in the US.
That was made in London, Sun Gangs. Yeah, that was made in London. I never really liked that record. It was sort of, we were kind of bullied into making that way too quickly. And it was
rushed. Rushed, perhaps?
Yeah, it was really rushed, and I didn't have the kind of clout to say anything. It was kind of just like, all right, you need to make the record now. And sort of like, I haven't really finished the songs, and no one seemed to care. So we were just kind of put in a studio in West London somewhere. It was a very sad time. I remember we were all just I don't think I have a single fond memory of making that album.
No. Right. But I think that's when speaking from the record label's point of view, they'll probably kind of solidify you in the industry, perhaps.
Maybe. I think they were figuring out that we weren't particularly easy to market, and Rough Trade were very patient with me. So we'd been with them quite a long time at that point, even though we'd only made 3 records. As signed with them when I was 17 or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess I was approaching my late 20s by that point. So I think they were kind of, I think they were going off the boil a bit.
Right.
But we'd had an interesting time, because once Nux had come out, we'd started touring America. So we went and lived. That was a time I remember fondly. We went and lived in America lived in Oklahoma for 6 months or something, working on Sun Gangs, which was an enlightening time.
Right.
But
maybe I read that Sun Gangs was written, not recorded, in the US, in Oklahoma.
Right. Yeah. We were over there for quite a while working on that, but it was just a bit undercooked, and I would have liked to have. It kind of sent us off in the wrong direction for a while, I think. It took us a while to get the thread, find the thread again.
Does that kind of relate to? I mean, we'll come back to Fragile World a little bit later, but the fact that it's recorded to tape at Roundhead, and it's immediate, and you didn't have the songs completely worked out in terms of structure and arrangement. Maybe it's sort of you returning to sort of right the wrongs of that third album with a similar approach, but with you more in control and more experienced as well.
I mean, tape, we were very lucky. Those first few records, we got to work with so many amazing producers, and just sort of picking all of these cherry-picking little techniques and things that we liked of theirs over the years. And I think that has been a recurring thing, really. Everyone we've worked with, this sort of making Nux I remember Nick Launay, he started making records when there was no other way, and he was just so amazing with tape. He just had these arcane skills. I remember us recording, I think it was Nux Vomica itself, but something fucked out with the bass for like 8 bars or something, and so rather than like dropping in and replacing it, he just sort of sliced the bass track out of the tape and then like, spliced another tape into it. It was amazing watching
just
him
glued
do
it
this
in. Yeah.
yeah, like taped
Old
it in.
school.
Something I imagine no one is being taught to do anymore, and there was just something very romantic about it. And and I think
it
that
totally
album
suits
as well,
the aesthetic of your band as well.
It does, and it's just easier. It's more restrictive, but it's easier. It suits me better, I think, because I just the problem with the digital world is I don't know when to stop, and those restrictions are really helpful. And like the way we make these records now as well, like we don't buy enough tape. We make it so that you can't physically record more than 2 takes, or you have to, and if you do record more than 2, you have to record over the last ones. It seems a bit strange to be kind of painting yourself into a corner like that, but I find those restrictions very freeing in an odd way.
Especially if you're a perfectionist, because the problem with digital recording is that you can just keep on polishing that stone until it's lost all of its strange characteristics, and it's like, but that little kind of warble there, or that half beat out, it's not really it's only a mistake the first time you listen to it. You know what I mean? And then if you put it to tape, comes the song.
I think everyone's different with this stuff, but with me, I think I'm at my best in the live environment, and I'm always just trying to find a way to kind of channel that in the studio as best I can. And the best way for me is just to not really have any second chances, and to just like, okay, here's a song you've been working on for 3 years. In the next 3 minutes, you have to deliver the vocal for that, and you're not going to get another chance. It just suits me better to have that framework around me, rather than you can spend the next 3 months, meticulously editing the vocal. I find I don't sing it as well. But that's me.
Is that what inspired you to record at Abbey Roads with Time Stays We Go? Like after Time Stays We Go, you did that. Was it a 5-song EP recorded at Abbey Roads, just live?
Yeah. I think it was my dear friend too filmed it, and I think it was their idea just to film there because it looks so nice, and it was all going to be 16mm black and white film, and it's such a photogenic space, and quite near where I lived in London as well. But yeah, I've always loved those spaces, and we're so lucky up in Auckland to have Neil Finn's studio, which is very much sort of, modelled on these beautiful old English studios, analog studios. So yes, I've always felt at home in those places with all the old instruments and microphones. It's certainly a happy place for me.
We missed out talking about Troubles of the Brain, and the interesting thing about that was that was released on Pitch Beast Records. So was that just in between record labels, and you just sort of approach it saying, listen, I'll just make my own record label?
Yeah, it was a really precarious time where I think the industry had changed a lot, and we hadn't really realized, like, we'd been in the nice warm bubble of Rough Trade for quite a long time, and then suddenly we weren't on with them anymore, and we were kind of out in the world, and it was sort of like, I guess it was kind of realizing, oh wait, you can totally just not have the money to do this anymore, and the whole thing could just collapse. It was that first sense of how precarious the whole thing was. So the thinking was sort of, okay, well, we could set up a label and we'd do it all ourselves, and maybe it would be a more secure footing, and we wouldn't have to go around cap in hand, as it were, to get the money together. But the reality of that quickly set in, and a bunch of people with very little business sense trying to run something that is just very expensive, the whole thing, sort of making these records, and I don't know. So it was an experiment that I don't think entirely worked, but we had to try, I suppose. My dad's still making records, and he's on his 19th album now. That's just with Shriekback, but I was thinking about that with him as well, starting out in the 70s all the way through till now. It's like, what, completely different. Yeah, he saw a lot of different changes in it over that time.
And then that was the same year you wrote an orchestral piece to commemorate Antipodes and dead at World War One. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Like, I haven't listened to that myself. What is that? That's a orchestral as an instrumental piece? Yeah,
I don't remember all that well. It's just so long ago, but it was a commission through, I think, they had a Canadian entrant and an Australian and a New Zealander, and we all played there. I mostly remember it because I got really bad food poisoning the night before, and I spent the whole night the night before awake, like shivering in bed, imagining, like, because we stayed right near Parshendale, and I just had these like fever dreams of all these tiny little eyes in the ground. That's my main takeaway from that experience. Yeah. I remember doing the show just like out of my mind.
Right.
But it was cool. It was nice to be asked, and it was a fun thing at the time.
And so the second to last sort of album in that first sort of section of your, actually the last one up until 2016, Total Depravity, seems to be quite morbid, I feel, even more so than usual. Was there a reason for that? What was happening in 2016 in the Vales camp?
That was, I was in quite a new era. We had Ubi in the band, who was quite a sort of transformative friend for me, as was my girlfriend at the time. We were spending a lot of time in Italy, and it was a strange mixture between, like, things with the band were in some ways going like better than they'd ever been. We were kind of on a bit of a roll in some ways, and we were being sort of invited to glamorous parties, and we're in a very kind of like cool London world, but sort of nothing had changed in many ways as well. I lived in the same flat in London since I was 17, so I was still in the same flat that had become this kind of weird shrine to, like, 20 years of the Vales and like numerous ill thought through relationships, and all these people who sort of lived there over the years, and everyone had kind of left things in the house, and it was just feeling very heavy, a very strange place. There's a song on that record called House of Spirits, which was sort of inspired by that. So I think on one hand I was having this very like fun, maybe fun isn't the word, but sort of experimental period, discovering a lot about the world, and had a lot of really amazing transformative experiences in that time. But then I'd sort of come back from tour and just be in the flat and be writing and like smoking too much and not eating enough and not really doing anything for like 8 months, and then go off on tour and have these sort of amazing times, and then come back into the pit. So that's what Total Depravity reminds me of anyway, this like quite depraved, but also I was giving myself a really hard time, I think, and I think I'd run out of road in London. I think I'd been there too long in that flat.
Right. Yeah.
And that was very much the end of that period of the Veils, I think, in quite a few ways. So sort of when the band, that lineup started to wobble making that record, and it was a very uphill album. We rehearsed for years. We got our own little rehearsal space that we'd go to sort of every day, and it was really long. People in the band were getting kind of, it was just uphill. I felt like I was pushing it up the hill, and by the time it got to the top of the hill, I was sort of questioning whether it was worth the push. And that was when sort of the Twin Peaks thing came along, and there was some really great moments at the end of that sort of felt like, okay, there was getting a bit of encouragement from people like Lynch and a few other people around that time. It was really spurred me on, because I was kind of at the end of a long journey at that point.
So then at what point did you make a decision to have a break from, I guess, it would have been 2017 to 2024, I'm guessing? So what was happening in your camp at that stage? Did the band actually deband, or was it just you taking a break and then that break turned to longer?
Yeah, I guess I came back to New Zealand and I made that solo record, and that took way longer than I expected. And then the label wouldn't put it out for like a year. So that sucked up a lot more time than I meant it to. It was kind of just meant to be a fun little thing on the side, and then I'd go back to the Veils and all of that.
Right.
Then I met my partner in New Zealand, and so I was sort of staying over here a lot more. And then COVID and all of that, and it's sort of that kind of put the kibosh on that Veils sort of lineup, the Total Depravity lineup for a while. Just no one could travel around, and it was already getting a bit shaky. So then I started making an Out of the Void Came Love in New Zealand, sort of here with Tom, really in a quite similar way to the recent record, but with more people sort of coming in and guesting, I guess.
Right. And there's more. Yeah. Do you feel like there's more orchestral sounds, and it's more of a delicate sound when you returned with in 2025? Do you feel like there was more orchestral elements?
Is that Asphodels, or is that an Out of the Void Came Love? I can't remember when everything came out.
2025 Asphodels. I thought that was more. I was wondering if that had been influenced by you making the orchestral piece to commemorate.
No, that was way more just meeting Victoria Kelly, and I think she had a huge influence on that record. And I think, these records have maybe been about finding another way to do things that wasn't the kind of traditional band in a room rehearsing sort of thing, which I think after Total Depravity, I'd kind of exhausted myself with that for a while. So this was sort of using the strings as kind of like another band member, and Vic and I talked about that a lot, of sort of giving the strings a character. Sort of imagining it was just sort of one person playing them in a room with me and the bass player, Cass. I think the strings became a big thing then. But then, this record was sort of, I'd had enough of the strings after that. It's a lot of work.
Because they can never play the same. I feel like they've always got to do a harmony to whatever's going on. I'm thinking of bands that have got strings playing with them. They can't just join in. They can't just like play the bass note or whatever, because it just creates this sound that's so thick. You've always got to have this other note that they play.
That's quite right. We were using a lot of the songs on that. We kind of have them intentionally very in the upper register, they're sort of like this a very ethereal, ghostly sort of presence in a lot of the songs. Vic writes so beautifully in general, but particularly these sort of, these little cluster chords and these, strange sort of just at the top of your sort of range of hearing.
Right.
Yeah, but she was brilliant. It's another friendship which has influenced, the direction of things.
So let's. Could you tell me a little bit about working with Bernard Butler? So you'd worked with him in 2 albums.
Sort of. We had a weird relationship with Bernard because he was managed by Rough Trade. That was back when we were first signed, and I think they were trying to work out, where the Veils could fit in. Yeah, so Bernard was managed by Rough Trade, and I think he'd done a bunch of stuff with like the Libertines, and so they were kind of like, we could. Yeah, it was not a great fit with Bernard, but there were some nice moments. He was probably the only producer I've worked with that I remember it feeling quite fraught and like he's very stubborn. And he does cool stuff, but I was quite young as well and very like fragile with a lot of these things, so I felt sometimes a bit kind of steamrollered into.
Were you a fan of Suede?
Not particularly, no. I liked them. It wasn't. I certainly wasn't. I know when I met him, I had no idea who they were, which was sort of weird because I was into into other bands of that time, but they kind of passed me by for some reason.
Right.
I think I never really liked the singer that much. And that always popped. But he was an amazing guitarist, and he was lovely to us. Taught us a lot of things about the studio and things.
But tell me about the new album. So it's, do you feel, I mean, the way it's recorded is unusual. So recorded at a Roundhead, live to tape, instrumentation and arrangements not completely set in stone. So was that a conscious decision?
Yeah, yes and no. It's certainly, I don't really make very conscious decisions. Everything's kind of like, okay, well that makes sense. That made sense to do that at the time. I felt like there were some really cool songs, and I couldn't be bothered, as I say, like going into a rehearsal room for ages and meticulously sort of trying to get them all around. There weren't any tours lined up, so it's sort of like, well, either I have these songs just sit around, I probably won't do anything with them if I just leave them now. I just sort of felt like, oh well, I feel like they're worth something and I'd like them to be heard, so let's just and Asphodels was too quick. We were only in the studio for a couple of days, and I missed the studio, so it was sort of like, well, let's go in the studio and have fun in there and see where that,
and be creative in there rather than just record what's already been written. There must have been some writing in the studio in that sense, because you're and make the most of having this amazing studio at our disposal. And it's something I've realized as I've gotten older, really just how much I love being in the studio. And I think after having been here a few years now as well, and having met Tom and Paddy who engineered it, they're so technically proficient and so fast, and that they can you have an idea and they can just turn the ship in that direction so quickly. I loved it. It was really exciting. So it was to take advantage of that as well, to take advantage of Paddy and Tom's talents to sort of. And what did Joseph McCallum do? Did he come in with some instrumentation as well?
Yeah, Joe's he's been our drummer in New Zealand for quite a long time, and he came in and played. Yeah, I played drums on a few of them, but I'm not a very proficient drummer, so Joe came in to do the proper drumming.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So thematically, the album seems to be talking about institutions crumbling before our eyes, a fragile world that we live in, and how things can be so easily disrupted. Is that I know you talked before about sort of like making things or not being entirely conscious of decisions as you're going forward, but when you looked at what you were writing, is that where the title of the album came from? When you were writing all these songs, and you know what, a lot of these things are about how tenuous our control over reality is, and how we don't have a huge amount of control over our lives. Is that kind of thought? Did you go in with that theme?
I mean, I remember when we were making Asphodels as well, feeling fairly similar. Just this kind of running to songs again, like I did. I mean, I did it all my life, but particularly with the first record, you know, when you're at high school and having a shit time, and you sort of that's why you start running to these songs in the first place. I felt that a lot with Asphodels, and same with this one, of just like this place to escape to escape the world. And I guess that sort of, it's a bit futile, I suppose, the idea trying to make things, you know, in the face of all this horrendous shit going on around us. But sometimes it's like the only comfort you can find is like, or like the only belief in humanity I sometimes have is this sort of like, it feels like humanity at our best making these things, you know, and not me in particular. Yeah, and like we've seen a lot of the worst of humanity in the last few years, and there was just something simple about that, I suppose, of just like, okay, well, you just try and do the thing, and it's all I can do is this as well. It's my only outlet and my only offering to the world in any way. So it was sort of, I guess it was that. So yeah, I felt fragile, the world felt fragile, and you're making this little world within it that's so delicate as well, you know, and that you're trying to protect. So the title flowed very easily this time.
Very poignant title, and just making us so aware of the systems at play that we totally rely on, that we probably haven't been fully aware of as a society for decades. And it's like, that if that supply route goes down, we're screwed, or this is where we get gas from, or this is where we get food from. I wanted to ask you, what would be your ideal act to open for? Who would you love to open for, and like any band or performer?
I don't know. I did a lot of opening for people when I was younger, and it was hard because either they were assholes and we hated their music, which obviously then sucked and it was miserable, or they were really amazing and then you just felt shit about yourself. So it was always a bit lose-lose.
Right.
But I don't know. I guess.
Do you ever open for Nick Cave?
Nah. No, I never did that. We did a cool show with Jesus and Mary Chain, and who was the other band? I can't remember. But that was fun. I remember at the time feeling like, you know, that's cool. I'm glad I got to open for Jesus and Mary Chain. That made me happy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if I have like a dream one. So as they say, it's a bit fraught.
Yeah. So album's out in 17 days on June 19th. And then your massive tour throughout New Zealand, starting in Dunedin, and then you'll be at Meow Nui on the 4th of July.
Nice, yeah. Very nice. I love that venue.
Yeah. Have you you haven't played there before yet though, but
yeah, we did with Asphodels.
Oh really? Okay. I didn't even know. Has it been over a year? It's been over a year. It's been open. Yeah. It's a cool venue.
I think we might have been like the third people to play it. I think it was very fresh.